Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Takedown. Oh, geez, there I am.
No, don't go there.
I need to change the intro. I totally failed as a producer. But welcome back to the Takedown, a Jackrabbit Illustrated podcast focused on South Dakota State wrestling. I'm Chad Myros and joined today by Alex Kenkel, as you all know, and our special guest, Zach Glazier. Alex, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chad. We're about to start the Heart of Duel season, which is kind of my favorite time of the year. Well, not about to. We've had
Frost.
Frost finally.
The home duel season.
Guys have obviously had several out on the East Coast, among other places, like you talked about last week. But yes, excited for the home duel slate to kick off here. Zach, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good, man. It's great to be here, and just appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on, man. We're just here to get to know you a little bit because the people at South Dakota State probably aren't familiar with you other than what they could find online. So
right.
I guess we'll get started off. Maybe tell people a little bit about where you're from, Albert Lee, and maybe discuss your path and what it took and how you ended up where you're at. Because we can get into more details on that, but maybe just the Cliff's Notes for this question.
Yeah, I'll give you the quick summary, and then I'm sure be some questions.
For sure.
But yeah, so I'm from Albert Lee, Minnesota. About 3 hours, pretty much straight east of here. So not too far away. Wrestled at Albert Lee High School, 2-time state champ there, and then out of high school, decided to go to the University of Iowa and wrestled there for the last 5 years. And now in my 6th year, late this summer, decided to transfer here to SDSU. So obviously that's a real quick version. There's a lot in between there, but
yeah, there are. Alex, why don't you hit them with your first question?
Yeah, I think you probably know. We'll just jump right off into that. So we talked with Damien to start the year, as we always do. And that's always a fantastic chat. As I'm sure you know, Damien can talk to you about hours about anything. So let alone you get him talking about wrestling. It's something he's really passionate about, and he goes and goes. But he made it kind of sound like, you weren't necessarily happy in Iowa City, and we don't necessarily need to get into that unless you really want to. But one reason or another, it was time for some change there, and you kind of almost showed up to Brookings sight unseen, did a little bit of a tour, and kind of first day of class is the first time you met the coaching staff, and kind of took a chance doing that. Almost kind of walk us through that experience a little bit and why South Dakota State.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate description of it. I did take a chance. I took a pretty big leap into the unknown, and that's just kind of because it had to be that way because of the rules and the way the transfer rules are. So yeah, what was happening in Iowa City. I mean, I guess I loved it there. Had a good experience overall. Maybe not everything that I wanted out of it, but had a good experience. Had a really good season last year with them, and that was great. But yeah, then some things were happening, a lot going on behind the scenes that I wasn't really aware about until, well, I guess I was finding out things on Twitter, I guess, put it that way, instead of from my coaches. And even after those things kind of got made public, there was still no conversations to be had. And kind of at that point, I had to make a decision. Basically, we started school 2 weeks, I think, from the time that I decided, like, hey, I think I gotta make a change. That was 2 weeks from school starting. Or actually I think it was less than that. I think it was closer to a week when school started here, actually. So because of, I guess I'm a graduate student. And so being a grad transfers, the rules are a little different than an undergrad. So that is kind of what allowed me to just basically, um, pick a school and enroll before class starts, and everything was all good. I didn't have to get in the transfer portal or go through that whole deal, anything like that. So the only problem with that is I wasn't able to legally, per NCAA rules, not able to have contact with any coaches at any other schools. So in the meantime here, when I was kind of deciding, or what, basically this was all going public about, who was transferring into Iowa, and whatnot. And I kind of started getting a lot of phone calls. And I won't say where they're from.
Fair.
But there was just because, but it was, I mean, it was nice to have a lot of people reaching out, saying that they wanted me in the program. But to SDSU's credit, like, all those people doing that weren't supposed to be doing that.
Right. It's good to be wanted, but there's also some integrity at play.
And to SDSU's credit, the coaches had no involvement in anything like that. And they were the only one in this process. But yeah, I looked at some other places as well. And by looked at, I mean, like, talked to some people and thought about it. Like, this all happened. Sure. I mean, I made a decision in about basically 3 days.
Yeah.
So basically it was just talking to who I could figure out who to talk to and think about it. And I knew a lot of guys, there's a lot of Minnesota guys on the team. Yep. Here. Right. Yep. So I knew a lot of those guys. I was familiar with them. My brother, I have a younger brother, and he didn't wrestle. His last 3 years, he wrestled at Cass and Manorville. So he was teammates with Bennett Berge.
Sure.
And so, we know that family really well. So there was some connections, and ultimately, well, backtrack a little bit too. I did get recruited in high school by Coach Hahn and Caldwell and Simaz. So I was familiar with them a little bit, and I had some conversations with them in high school. Knew just from that I knew they were great guys and good coaches. And so, yeah, ultimately I kind of looked at the recent success that they've been having. Kind of saw just lineup wise, looking at a place where, I thought I'd fit in. Looking at the coaches, they're all bigger guys. They're all my size. Kind of was thinking, that it'd be a good place for me as far as just getting that one-on-one time with coaches and getting the most out of them. And it was close, easy place to make the transition to. And so all those things just kind of added up. And I made the move, showed up Sunday before school started on Monday. I was staying in an Airbnb for a week because I didn't have a lease signed yet. And showed up, went to class on Monday, went to wrestling room, got to finally talk to those guys, like, and the rest, now we're here. So
that is a interesting thing and quite a leap of faith on your part, I feel like. However, I think, you talked about the Berge connection. I think that the fact that the Berges are both here maybe is a little bit of shows a bit of the character of the program, perhaps. And I would think if you knew them, then that would make you comfortable. another question I had along that front is, I would think that much like in high school, maybe a little bit different, but you guys get to know the other wrestlers going to tournaments and stuff and know about them. And you probably chat a little bit back and forth. I would just imagine that you'd probably have some familiarity with Sloan and the success that he had. And maybe that would be something else too, that, would factor in.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't, know Sloan. Obviously now I've gotten to know him a little better. But that was part of it, looking what they were able to do with him and his success that he had. That's a guy at my weight class against the same competitors, having great success, and obviously a lot to his credit, but that's some credit to the coaches as well. And so, yeah, definitely saw that, and yeah, I figured I could kind of follow in behind him there and hopefully have some of the same stuff kind of start working for me. So,
sure.
So, on that note, before we get too deep in the technical side of it, what's one non-wrestling thing that you were kind of shocked or didn't expect about Brookings you've grown to really, really like? And granted, you're from Albert Lee, it's close, so you're familiar with the area. You'd probably pass through a time or two, and you're recruited in high school, so you probably did a visit then. But what's something you didn't really realize till you got in town? It's like, oh, that's kind of neat. That's kind of different.
And the answer definitely could be that Cubby's Sports Bar, our sponsor, is one of the best sports bar in the Midwest, and that you love their food there. Great place to catch a game, have a drink. Obviously you're 21, so you're probably not doing that in season, but off season. If you don't know, Cubby's the best place in town. Sorry, I just saw.
Hey, that was
a little bit of a setup there.
Well, I do enjoy Cubbies. Cubbies is great, and they're a great supporter of the athletics here. I've come to realize, so that's awesome. But man, so you said non-wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know the Frank is an awesome facility, and
that was kind of the first thing that came to mind. Is that facility? I guess I think I knew. Like I had seen it, on social media and stuff that SDSU got a new facility and whatever, but
unlike where you came from, it has windows.
I'm
sure you saw all those memes. Sorry,
I guess it does. Yeah. But so yeah, that I kind of forgot about that though until I got here. Like that wasn't something that I was like taking stock of or taking consideration. I kind of forgot about it, so I was pleasantly surprised when I got here and we had that facility, which was nice because we had a nice facility at Iowa, and then we moved into an even newer, nicer one, and so that stuff's not necessary, but when you're used to it, to be able to transition here and still have a nice place just makes transition easier. You know what I mean? So that was really nice. That's still kind of wrestling related though. I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
That's all right. We put you on the spot a little bit here.
Yeah.
I think that's a good answer, especially for any recruits listening.
It's got to be semi-comparable, right? I mean, maybe it's not as big because I think they got more guys in the room down there. Maybe talk about some of the cool things that one or the other.
Yeah. So it's not as big as Iowa's new one, but bigger than the old one that we were in Carver Hawkeye, that wrestling room that was 3 mats and some change, some overflow. But so then our facility here is 4 mats. The brand new one down there was 6, so it was huge. But here, I'll tell you what, the lounge space that we have in the upstairs of this facility is awesome. And man, a lot of guys use it. I mean, everyone uses it like every day throughout the whole day. It's just kind of a central hub, central location for everybody. And that was something that surprisingly they didn't put into the new facility at Iowa. So that's really cool. And then that patio up there that you can step out on, and you watch a football game from there or whatever. That's super sweet. Yeah, I haven't seen something like that. That's pretty cool. So
yeah, thanks to Todd and Tina for that room, right? That's a really cool room, and the DAC sign up there outside. It's really unique, and I get it. We have a smaller stadium, but that stadium gets rocking, and I imagine you were able to take in a football game. What'd you think of the atmosphere? Or did you not take in a football game?
I did from there. From
there.
From the patio up there. Yeah. It was cool. It was great.
It's fairly rowdy, but it's a little different than 70,000 people.
Yeah. Right. The setting is a little different, but to be expected.
Is there anything in particular as far as food or anything you missed from down there? I mean, because I'm not that familiar with Iowa myself.
I do. Honestly, that might be my biggest thing as far as just talking general stuff. Like, you just because it's was a bigger surrounding area, that had a lot of options, and went out to eat quite a bit. and just because there's so many options, and especially breakfast. I'm a huge breakfast guy, and we love to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you went to Cook's Kitchen?
I have, but I'm just saying, to be able to mix it up.
No, Iowa City, I'm sure, has a lot more options than Burlington does.
So I will say, I missed just all the different options, but that's okay.
So
that's not the end of the world.
I am huge, but I'm a huge breakfast fan, and maybe you can tell me for the next time we end up down there at Iowa playing Iowa for football or whatever, what was the best spot?
There's a lot of good spots, but two main spots that we always went. The Dandelion is what it was called. That's right downtown, kind of basic. Well, campus and downtown are the same, so right downtown.
And are you more of a pancakes and eggs guy, or an omelet guy, or corned beef hash? What's your pleasure there?
Yeah, eggs, hash browns, pancakes. Yeah,
okay, just standard.
But that place, why that place is my favorite. I switched it up there a little bit. They had a kind of eggs and hash browns, but it was kind of their specialty. It had like a gravy over the top, and kind of had special cheese in there, and it was good. But
I haven't eaten in 3 days. Now you're making me hungry.
yeah. But yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, coming back around here a little bit. We are a wrestling podcast. We can talk some wrestling, I suppose. Oh no, you're fine. It's you probably haven't listened to a lot of our other stuff, Zach, but getting off topic is like it's more off topic stuff than topic stuff sometimes.
I did a little homework. I listened,
especially with my ADD. We're all over the place.
Yeah, I listened to you guys and Cody talk. I think that was maybe last week.
Week, yeah.
So yeah,
sure. What's one thing coming to Brookings that you feel like you've really been able to pick up and improve in your wrestling this year versus maybe the way they did things in Iowa City, or just a technique Damian or Cody really their own spin on something versus the way Tom or Terry Brands teaches it? What's something you feel you've really been able to pick up on this year in an area you really feel you've improved?
So this has, well, granted, I haven't been off the mat here for 6 weeks, but and we can get into that too. But
Sure.
hasn't shown up, I guess, in my competition as much as I want to see it yet. But I've spent a lot of time in top wrestling with
Sure.
Cody and Damien a little bit, but a lot of time working on just riding and turning. That's by far the most focused, one position that we've worked on, just because I've been pretty good on my feet. I've been good, been able to get out on bottom. And that was kind of one hole, you could say, is I wasn't really riding guys. And man, you watch, someone like Sloan, who was able to ride guys and turn guys. Oh, it's just a game changer. It makes it so much easier on you. Like you're just physically in a match. Like if you're good at riding a guy and turning a guy, it's like you're not working that hard and you're scoring a bunch of points. And
say 4-point near falls now, man, you can rack them up in a hurry.
Yeah. So that has definitely been the biggest change of focus, I guess you could say. And like I said, it hasn't really shown up as much yet, but it takes time. I mean, it's not something that I've really put a lot of effort into the last 5 years of college, and you can't expect it to just show up out of nowhere, right? So it takes time, but I'm, getting better at it in the room and kind of hoping I'm able to utilize it here down the home stretch. So
who would you say pushes you most in the room? It could be a coach or a teammate.
I wrestle with Cody a lot.
Okay.
And but I mean, we got a lot of good guys in the room. It's actually that my partner situation, as far as having a variety of guys to work out with, is actually a lot better here than it was at Iowa. We like last year, we didn't have any other 197 pounders. And we really didn't even have an 84 pounder. Like last year, our guy on our team wrestling 84 was a 74 pounder that was bumping up to fill the hole. So I didn't have, last year it was like either work out with heavyweights, which is really hard on your body, or wrestle with, guys that are 2 weight classes below you. And so here, I got a lot of great partners: Thomas Deneen, Brock Fettig, obviously Bennett Berge, wrestled with DeVos actually a bunch kind of at the beginning of the season.
Dude, super smart.
Yeah. So that's been just to have that variety of different guys, and then obviously having Cody. I mean, he's put a lot of time in with me and been super grateful for that. So
Cody's awesome. Talked about been a little banged up the last 6 weeks. Did you want to talk on that or walk through that at all, just for folks that maybe don't follow along day to day at the program?
Yeah. So we went out east before Christmas, right before Christmas. And I wrestled. It was our second duel, but my first match wrestling out there. We wrestled Pitt, University of Pittsburgh.
There you go.
And I had a pretty tough guy, but got kind of irrelevant, I guess. But first period, got in on a shot. Just weird freak thing, not super common, but I tore my pec getting in on that guy's leg and him defending it. And I knew, I knew what it was. Everyone thought it was my shoulder. Cause I've actually had surgery on both my shoulders. I've torn stuff in both my shoulders over my career, and everyone thought it was my shoulder. They thought it popped out or something, whatever. But it was my pec. So it fully tore. And I guess the fortunate thing about it, as the doctors explained to me, was that the tendon, so that the tendon comes off your pec muscle and attaches to the bone kind of in front of your shoulder. And instead of that tendon tearing off of the bone, it was actually back further. It was completely a muscle tear. Like, it was just my muscle completely tore apart. If it was the tendon coming off the bone, it probably would have been season ending. I would have had to get surgery. This, they can't do surgery, but the good thing is, muscle will heal itself. It just needs time. So been giving it time, been working really hard, rehab, every day, and kind of just the last couple days here started to get back on the mat and move around and kind of slowly progress there. So hoping to be back here pretty soon. I've not this weekend, for sure, but possibly next weekend. We're just, take it week by week, day by day, really, at this point, and trying to get to where I need to be. I mean, it's not gonna be 100%, but kind of basically get to the point where we feel like the risk is, as low as it can be, and I can kind of do what I need to do. And when we get to that point, then I'll go.
Right on. Has it been quite painful? I mean, obviously the initial thing sounds terribly painful to me, but I know how it goes with shoulders. I'm not familiar with that. I mean, I had my biceps moved, but how has that been for the therapy, and has it been painful? Is it feeling a lot of pain still, or how are you doing?
No, it's doing a lot better. It was painful when it happened, and it was painful for kind of that whole following week. But now it's, just whatever, walking around, it feels great. Obviously some of the rehab things where we start to push it and kind of push the boundaries every time, there can be things that get a little painful, but we don't push it that far. Yeah, right. We're not overdoing anything, just kind of progress slowly and smart. So it's been good. I mean, honestly, I don't think I could ask for it to go much better than it is going, and progress as fast as it has progressed. So that's good. But that being said, don't have a lot of time, and I got to get back on the mat soon. So it's kind of a juggling, balancing act. Like, it's getting a lot better, but we got to go. So,
but you're also kind of lucky in that the whole COVID deal that we're wrestling, right? I mean, you have the opportunity to do that. So that's going to give you that year that you would have lost, right? Or you wouldn't have had because of COVID.
Right. This is that year. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, you would have been done. We're lucky to even have you, because not for COVID, you wouldn't be available to make a grad transfer.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it can't really control it, right? And you gotta, now that it happened, you will do what I can do, and just be ready for the end of the season. And it's been all right. I mean, the way I've looked at it is, it's, not such a bad thing. I mean, I'm a 6-year guy, and so there was other things on my body that just weren't feeling good in general, and mentally too. I mean, when you just done it for this long, like it catches up with you, and
Sure.
when your body hurts and you don't necessarily enjoy, practices and stuff like you did when you were young and fresh, and so it's been good just to have basically a mid-season like physical and mental break and be able to just reset kind of and get prepared for the end of the season, because what we got coming up is ultimately the only thing that really matters. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to do well during the season, and you want to win and get to compete and all those things, but the national tournament is what matters. So
Yeah, if you go win the Big 12,
yeah, I mean, as long as I'm ready to go for that, then I guess it is what it is.
Talk about that a little bit, because I think that's, if you're on wrestling social media at all or message boards or whatever, we haven't got to compete a ton, but what is the feel of, maybe some would say, and I'm not even disputing that it isn't necessarily, but stepping down to, say, going from the Big 10 to a Big 12 type of schedule? Do you feel like there's advantages in that, like we talked about, of maybe your body's getting a little more rest, or is it disadvantage of not as sharp because you maybe don't have the same level of competition every week, or maybe it's some of all of the above?
I would say what you're talking about used to be the case, maybe only 5 years ago or something. I don't think that's the case as much anymore. The Big 12 is pretty tough. The teams in the Big 12 have built up a lot, and there's a lot of good guys. And also just our schedule. I mean, who we scheduled at the beginning of the season were tough teams. We wrestled Minnesota, and then we went to Cliff Keene. I mean, that's the toughest in-season tournament there is in the country. So I think, if I was comparing my schedule from last year to this year, this year's schedule is actually probably tougher.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, maybe that's not how it is every year.
Sure.
Or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the Big 12 is anything to look down on. I mean, it's right there. So,
well, yeah, we just got to win that tournament, right?
Yeah.
Easy to say, harder to do.
Not an easy task, but
not an
we
easy
can do
task. I mean, Oklahoma State's putting together always a good
What do
team.
they know?
Well, they don't have a very good coach since he's from Nebraska. He's
well,
your buddy, whatever.
The assistant head coach. I was high school teammates with Thomas Gilman. You probably didn't know that, Zach, but
were you really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I was Gilman was still at Iowa my freshman year, so I was with Gilman for a year, anyways.
Sure.
But, yeah.
My whole point there was to take a poke at Alex. So
that's funny.
So we got the Big 12's really the goal to get to the national championship, but you've wrestled some interesting matches, and maybe a year or so ago, we're in a pretty hot and heavy publicized match. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all. I mean,
Sure.
We go to the Soldier Salute pretty much every year.
Oh, really?
You were definitely there last year. And I think some of the memes I saw as a result of what happened after that match was one of the funniest things I've ever seen come out of wrestling.
Oh man, there's even now, like recently. Oh, I hear about it. I hear about it all the time, but like
I'm sure.
I'm sure you do.
I don't have TikTok, but like 2 different people, this is only a couple weeks ago, they like sent me this TikTok and it was like craziest sports moments of 2024 or something. And like that was on there, like out of all sports, that was on that TikTok at like number 1. And I was like, are you kidding me? But it's been crazy the reach that got like outside of wrestling. Yeah, crazy.
That counts as a win, though, right? Like, because you beat him.
You're the last guy to beat AJ Ferrari, technically.
Right, technically. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure he doesn't look at it that way.
No. I mean, he beat me in overtime, but yeah, I mean, technically, if on paper, I guess I won. I got the trophy, I guess. But no, that was definitely a crazy thing.
When Carter put that up, I just couldn't believe it. And then I went back and looked at it, and it must have been the 3rd or 4th time I saw what was underneath him, and I lost it all over. I didn't notice the pink thing at the beginning. And oh my gosh. Alex knows I'm telling the truth because I told him the same thing.
Well, it was in his group chat, in our group chat with me, him, and Jordan. I think Jordan sent it originally, or maybe I did. And Chad's like, oh my gosh, I didn't click on the full image and hold it before. That's even funnier now.
Yeah, there's, oh man. Yeah.
And now he's doing some weird ads for a Toyota dealership. And is he even wrestling? I don't know how exactly.
He has been.
Oh,
I think he
dismissed off that team too.
Well, there's a lot of season left, so
yeah.
He's an interesting character, I guess. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, he was kind of a teammate, right? I mean, for a while.
Yeah. Well, he was never he was never really in the room. I mean, it's not like he was training with us every day or anything. His one brother, the middle brother, Anthony, he was training with us every day. And you'd see, I don't think AJ like lived in Iowa City or anything, but you'd see him every once in a while, and he'd kind of pop in and be in the room, I guess, but he wasn't wrestling. Kind of weird, but so it's not like he was with us every day or anything, but that was that was the plan. I mean, they were trying to get him for second semester. And basically because of what happened during our match is really the only reason that didn't work out for him. So.
Yeah. And you took him to overtime, right? I mean, so does that mean you deadlift somewhere near 700 pounds or?
Oh, geez.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. I've watched the guy's career. He's polarizing. At times I really like him, at times not so much, but he is entertaining at a wrestling fan viewpoint.
You need that to an extent, and we don't need to get into other teams and stuff too much, but former teammate of yours made some interesting comments in the media leading up to their duel Friday night that I would not have made, but like I said, we don't necessarily need to go there either.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing though. I mean, he's he knows what he's doing. He's just trying to make that spotlight a little bigger and promote the event, and obviously people that don't like it, but
well,
he knows what he's doing.
the other guy doesn't need motivation. And Gabe Arnold, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Gabe Arnold and Carter Starachi are going to wrestle at the Penn State-Iowa Duel Friday, which you should watch after you go to the SDSU Utah Valley Duel. But he made some comment about how he thinks Carter Starachi's good, but he's better. I also get self-confidence, but there's also a reason Carter Starachi's trying to become the only 5-time NCAA champ.
Yeah, he's no slouch. It is good, though, to have a little trash talk in the sport, I think. I mean, and it wasn't completely disrespectful.
No, and that's where I was actually going to go to get maybe a little bit back on top here. The question is, what do you think our sport needs more to grow, Zach? Personally, for me, if you listen to any of our stuff, I think going to the national duels, the NWCA duels, was great this year, and I think them talking about bringing out a big national duel invitational next year is even better, because I know a lot of people disagree, but I think duels are more digestible for a casual fan base. What do you think? Because I've got young kids that sports given a lot to me, and I try to give back now doing this podcast and as a high school official. But I want to see the sport grow, because I want my kids to have even more opportunities than I had as a kid coming up. What do you think we need to grow the sport of wrestling, Zach?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I have any super strong opinions on the subject like some people do.
Sure.
Some people feel really strongly about something, especially when you're talking about the national duels. But yeah, I do agree with you that the duels are a more digestible format. Like the way you said that's completely true for a casual fan. And so, yeah, I think what they're going to do with that next year and trying to build the national duels like that is a good thing. Whatever it takes, I guess, ultimately we got to figure out how to get our dual meets on ESPN, more, on mainstream TV. And so whatever that means, I don't know, but however we can do that, that's what's going to grow it. That's what's going to get the casual fan to watch. I mean, the casual fan isn't going to buy a subscription and tune into Flow Wrestling to watch something. You know what I mean? Versus
actual fans might not even.
No, but you're flipping through the TV and you see it on ESPN, and you click on it and you start watching it. And I know that just from like last year, we wrestled Iowa State, and that was on ESPN, and the amount of text messages and phone calls and stuff that I got from people who don't generally watch wrestling or necessarily follow me or whatever, just because they saw it on TV, and so they watched it and thought it was great. So yeah, however we can figure out how to do that and get wrestling on TV, that's huge. But yeah, like I said, I don't got any big bright ideas, I guess, on the subject.
Damien's willing to do whatever it takes. He's said that more than once. And about that, how I'd like to have, because you have a unique perspective on, you've got Carver Hawkeye, which is a storied, the atmosphere. How's that compare to, how do you feel with the changes? And I know you didn't see it before at Frost, but what's your assessment of one versus the other there a little bit? Maybe crowd intensity and so forth.
And you don't got to try to pump us up.
No, for sure not. That's not what
really, because I wanted to ask the same thing, Chad. I think it's really what are some little stupid, simple things that they do that easier to engage our fan base? maybe that's what you're thinking, Chad.
That sounds like a second question, but go. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You want to answer there. No, that's fine.
So, I mean, obviously they're different, right? I'm not going to pretend they're the same. Wrestling in Carver Hawkeye Arena is, I think anyone will tell you. I mean, anyone from opposing teams, anyone that's gotten to to wrestle there is, I mean, it's really a unique experience, and it's extremely cool. I'm extremely grateful that I got that opportunity because it's awesome. And there's nothing like it. I mean, there's there's some other really cool atmospheres that I'm also ecstatic to have been able to experience, but there's nothing like it. That being said, that is super unique, and just to have a good atmosphere in general in the sport of wrestling, college wrestling, really isn't that common. There's not a lot of programs that can do that can get bring in thousands of people and put them in the seats for a duel. But we're one of the programs here that can do that. So, excuse me. So, I mean, that's, you got to be grateful at just, telling myself that as an athlete, but telling anyone else, any other athlete, high school athlete, college athlete now, anytime you can get an atmosphere that's remotely like what we get here, is you got to be grateful for that, because there really isn't many programs in the country that can do something like that. And especially here, small town, small state. I mean, to be able to do what we do is awesome. So
I'm going to read this one, Alex. Brock Gulseth chimes in.
Just went to that next.
He says, "Hey, stud, glad to hear you're on the men. Looking forward to see what you can do towards the end of the year here." And he asks, "Do you foresee programs like South Dakota State benefiting from what happens during all this crazy transfer portal stuff? I do know that you can't ask for a better coaching staff than what we have in Brookings." And he thinks that guys will gravitate to programs like SDSU partially because of the, somewhat in part due to the great staff that we have.
Yeah.
So you can read it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, me and obviously my other teammates that came with Kobe and Drake, I guess we're all products of that, exactly his question, of, transfer portal stuff happening. So yeah, I think it's possible. And the integrity of the program and of the coaches, and obviously they're great and knowledgeable about wrestling. So yeah, that is a draw. That is something that, we might be able to keep benefiting from. Obviously it's tough to compete with the programs that have the money to throw at guys, so yeah, I mean, I think you're more looking at benefiting from guys that displaces, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you one way or another, it's shaking things up. So you look to benefit from that, I guess. But
so you talked about Drake and Kobe a bit, which kind of leads me into a question there. I think you probably know where I'm going with that, but they kind of followed you, or you guys kind of get sat down and talk about it much? I mean, obviously you know them guys, so
yeah, I mean, I guess I don't fully want to speak for them. I mean, maybe
okay.
I will, but maybe their perspective is a little different on it, but Yeah, I mean they followed me.
Sure.
And so me and Kobe, we're the same class. We lived together for the first 4 years.
Sure.
Last year we didn't, but the first 4 years of college, me and him were roommates, and obviously good friends. And he, had a similar, exact same situation. Guy coming in, whatever. And so he was looking to leave. And kind of once I figured out what I was doing, I just told him what I'm like, hey, don't feel like you got to do, what I'm doing just because that's what I'm doing. But,
Sure.
If, it's an option you could look at. And so he kind of weighed his options and decided to make the same decision. And then Drake kind of piggybacked off that. I think Kobe talked to him, and just because he expressed interest. I mean, they had a lot of guys leave, right? They had maybe 6 guys or something leave kind of all right after I did. So yeah, it just kind of snowballed, I guess, if you will, and led to all of us coming here. So
Sure. You got kind of wrapping up a little bit here. We're getting close to the end of time. We want to be respectful of your time, Zach. You got anything else we didn't touch on today? From your story, your journey, people you want to thank, stuff you want to mention about your time in Brookings so far to people who might be listening to this who are Jackrabbit wrestling fans, anything like that? You don't have to. I'm just asking.
Yeah, just I'm grateful to be here. I'm glad to have the opportunity to be able to find a place where I have the opportunity to compete. I have the opportunity to go chase my goals, which ultimately is being national champ. And so I'm super grateful that I was able to find that opportunity here, and grateful for all, just for what my coaches do and my teammates. That's not easy to bring new guys in either as a team. And I think this team handled it really well. And I couldn't ask for any better teammates and couldn't ask for a better reception. So yeah, just, thanks to all those guys and obviously, to the fans. Hopefully I get healthy here and I can kind of compete to my best and give you something to cheer for. So,
well, we're certainly hoping that too. We'd love to see you out on the map more. I think we only got the one opportunity in the Minnesota duel, really up close and personal.
crappy match too.
I was gonna say, and that didn't turn out probably quite how you wanted, but that happens. And we do have a couple things coming up. We wrestle Utah Valley. I believe Thomas Deneen slated at the 197 spot, so we'll probably see you hanging back with the team. And you made it sound like you wouldn't be wrestling the next duel either, and that's going to be Wyoming on Saturday, same time. They're both at 7. They're both at Frost Arena. It's the world's biggest rabbit den. Maybe you've heard that before. Maybe you haven't. It's cheesy, but I'm going to be Matt's side for Saturday. So that's pretty cool. And do they have the couches down at Iowa? Do they do the couch thing down there too? Because that's pretty cool. I did that once. You've seen that,
I
right?
think so.
I've done that once too. It's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, they allow people to win those couch side seats.
Yeah.
So, every week we have the Cubbies luncheon on Wednesdays, right, Alex? You're in
Yep.
town there.
Wednesday at noon, come Coach Han's luncheon, kind of give state of address. We got any JWC stuff coming up.
The raffle still ongoing. I think there's a few tickets left to that. He said last week, and I know that's really important for growth of the program as well.
I think national tournament ticket orders are closed, but you could still check if they have some availability left. They said I'm pretty sure they're closed though. What are you forgetting, Zach? I know you're not in the office, so you don't know a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
I feel like
you're
we touched
covering
on most everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll just get jacked on 3. What do you think? You want to break us down, Zach?
Sure. Get jacked on 3, huh? 1, 2, 3.
Get jacked.
Get jacked.
Hold on a second.
I love it.